Mankind is speeding to the edge of a cliff, and we have no clue what is at the bottom, let alone know that we're about to fall. In the previous episodes, we show how we arrived here through the modern education system and the rapid advancements of everyday technology. In this video, we will examine what the probable future looks like. Dark days are coming, hard times are coming. Our last episode, we walked through the childhood of Gen Z. Some of them are adults now, 24 to 29 years old. The prime years for building a family. Yet they're not having kids. And this isn't just an American problem. It's happening across every Western civilization. To maintain a stable population, an average of 2.1 children need to be born per woman. The average across all Western nations sits at 1.6. A population collapse is on the horizon. Here's the scale of it. Less than 1/3 of the world's population lives in countries above that replacement rate. The other 2/3 quietly disappearing. This isn't just telling individuals what to do. It's about what happens to a society in the aggregate when children stop being valued. Some will argue this is a good thing. Fewer people, less strain on resources, right? But here's the brutal reality. Our economy is built on a pyramid. Younger workers pay taxes that support older retirees. When there are fewer young people and far more old people, the pyramid inverts. The whole structure collapses. The rough estimated state fund care that goes through to retirees in all Western civilizations is about 30% right now. There are about 3 workers for every retiree. By the time I reach retirement, I'm 35 years old right now, the ratio will be cut in half. Roughly 1.5 workers support every retiree. The math doesn't work. The system breaks. Anyone under 40 understands Social Security will be insolvent when we're eligible for it, yet we still get taxed for it. And if funding does come in time, we will only be stealing from our children yet again.
And our major trust funds are headed towards insolvency. Social Security in particular, it's going to be insolvent in 6 years. This is an unconscionable situation that we found ourselves in, and yet the conversation still continues to be people competing not to do anything to fix the program. The ARP that says it focuses on protecting seniors is one of the organizations that actively opposes any changes to fix it, and it tries to intimidate members whenever they start to talk about those changes. We have got to start talking about how to fix Social Security. Almost everything that we've done in the past decade and more has relied on more borrowing. Unoffset tax cuts, infrastructure bill, PACT, spending on seniors, which made Social Security insolvent even sooner. There are more and more things that we continue to choose to borrow for. It's going to cause a generational resentment, and younger people are going to be right to be angry about it.
South Korea offers a glimpse of what our future holds. A fertility rate that sits at 0.75, the lowest in the world. Less than 1 child per woman. A society openly walking off the cliff. To understand why, you have to look at how they built their system. Education in South Korea isn't a path, it's a gauntlet. The entire country shuts down on the day of the college entrance exams. Streets close, flights are grounded, even the stock market opens late, so young adults will be judged on their test performance and their scores.
Test takers are arriving at a testing site in Seoul. It's the day that more than 508,000 test takers have been preparing for. The Suneung, South Korea's college entrance exam. All the test takers started their first test, the Korean language test, at around 8:40 a.m. Korea Standard Time. For some test takers, the Suneung will last for more than 9 hours. Parents and family members who came to wish the students good luck didn't leave the school gate for a long time. The Suneung is similar to America's SATs, France's Baccalaureate, and China's Gaokao. But some call it the most difficult test in the world or a 9-hour marathon. The reason the Suneung is so important is that some major universities in Seoul, where many test takers aim to go, accept nearly 40% of freshmen by looking only at their Suneung results. The country basically comes to a standstill when the test begins. All the traffic in front of the testing sites is controlled, and banks and public offices open later than usual to prevent congestion. The sound of planes or military exercises may bother students, so these are put on hold for 25 minutes during the English listening test. Some might wonder why South Korea cares this much for a test. It's because there's a national feeling that this test can be make or break for the students. It can only be taken once a year, and so they have to make sure they give it their best on test day and without anything getting in the way. This year is the third Suneung since the outbreak of COVID-19, and students who tested positive could take the test in specially designated schools for COVID patients. The Ministry of Education said 2,000 students with COVID-19 are taking their tests in those schools, while 3 others are taking their test in hospital. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
That one single day determines the rest of the kid's life, what college they attend, what corporation hires them, who they marry, and what they're allowed to become. What's also what we must take into consideration when looking at South Korea are the corporations. That's the other half of the story. A handful of conglomerates, Samsung, Hyundai, LG, aren't just companies in South Korea. They are the economy. So the education system is designed to engineer kids to feed into those corporate pipelines. Memorize, compete, conform, perform. By the time a kid emerges from this meat grinder, they're burnt out, isolated, and have one of the highest youth suicide rates in the developed world. When they look at the prospects of actually having children themselves and subjecting another human being to the same machine, they say no. South Korea isn't a warning of what could happen, it's a preview of what already has. But the cliff isn't only in front of the old. The young are already falling, they just haven't hit the ground yet. As we speak, the AI boom is accelerating. The youngest of Gen Z, 13 to 14 years old, are watching it unfold in real time. We see them every day, heads down, encapsulated in their phones, just like their older brothers, and even just like their parents. They're walking into high schools where teachers and parents barely communicate with each other, in an environment that subconsciously trains them in one thing above all else: compliance. Sit still, don't ask why, memorize, repeat. And here's what they also know. A house costs 4 more times than it did 30 years ago. A car is unaffordable. College debt is inescapable. The few of those that push through, who do everything right, who go on to college anyway, they already know the truth. They're earning degrees that will become obsolete by the time they walk across the stage. The jobs they've trained for won't exist. They're paying $50,000 for credentials that'll be worthless in 4 years. And even if they survive all of that, the debt, the disappearing of jobs, the impossible economy, there will be one more thing waiting for them, which will be the hardest. They don't know how to connect. A generation raised on screens never learned the soft skills that hold life together. How to sit across from another person without reaching for a phone. How to read a room. How to navigate conflict without typing it out. How to be bored together. How to fall in love without an algorithm being involved.
To think that a third of Americans are having a romantic relationship with chatbots.
Have you
is just
talked
crazy.
with the chat in between?
Have talked with ChatGPT, but not in like a romantic sense. Don't give me that look. I know what you guys are thinking. Not in that kind of way.
No.
But I've consulted
Yes,
ChatGPT
that's what
and
I
been
wanted
like,
to
is
know.
this guy weird?
Yes,
And like
yes.
put in text, and they're like, yeah, he's a weirdo. But I've consulted like, should I go on a second date with him? Here are the texts, and ChatGPT will be like, yes or no. So I have consulted with ChatGPT, in addition to my friends. Of course, it goes in the group chat.
But does
yeah.
anybody here have an AI companion? I don't want to judge.
When I began my career, not everybody was admitting being divorced either.
Really?
So you can see when something enters society, at first people keep it quiet.
Yes.
That's why the research says 1/3, and we're all jumping. Who are they? If it's not 1/3, should have some representation in this room.
That's right.
But nobody's going to say necessarily out loud.
They've had thousands of digital interactions and almost no real ones. Loneliness has become the baseline. Isolation feels normal. And when you can't form a stable relationship with a person, you certainly can't build a family without one. This is the quiet collapse underneath the loud one. Birth rates are falling, but the deeper truth is this. We've raised a generation that doesn't know how to be with another human being. You can't repopulate a civilization with people who can't connect. And the numbers prove it. Marriage rates in the US have hit historic lows, down nearly 60% since the 1970s. Roughly 40% of marriages that do end up happening end in divorce. More than half of the adults under the age of 30 are single, and most of them aren't even looking. Men and women in their 20s and 30s report some of the highest levels of loneliness we've ever recorded, and they're drifting in opposite directions. Politically, socially, emotionally, women are increasingly educated, ambitious, and exhausted by what the world has to offer, while men are increasingly disengaged, isolated, and quietly disappearing from the dating pool, the workforce, and the broader social fabric. The two halves of the species can't seem to find each other anymore, and the algorithm is feeding both sides, making the gap wider, not smaller, by rewarding outrage and resentment over understanding. The Gen Z adults aren't having kids because they can't afford them. It's because they can't connect with anyone to have them with, and can't imagine a world bringing them into. The Gen Z teenagers are already walking into a system that's obsolete, chasing degrees that won't matter, and an economy that doesn't need them. And the retirees are about to find out that the system they've paid into for 50 years can't sustain itself. And the kids who haven't been born yet, they never will be. This is what civilization collapse actually looks like. Not a sudden catastrophe, no bombs falling or cities burning, just a slow, quiet emptying out. Schools with fewer students, hospitals with no nurses, streets with no children playing. A culture that forgot how to renew itself. How do we fix this? Okay, folks, that's it. That is the little mini series I kind of put together. Doing this a little bit more ad lib, kind of want to, free flow. The reason I did leave this open is kind of want to give you an idea of what's going to be coming forward. This problem is pretty big. It's pretty massive. I'd hope over the last 3 episodes you can tell that I've, actually done my research on this stuff. And unfortunately, I see this problem. It's it's generational. It's big. I could be working on this for the next my whole life and not get anywhere to where I want to go. But I actually think that's good, man. I'm kind of stoked. I'm excited. Last 6 months of kind of like this is what I want to do, and I've actually been having a really exciting thought process of going about this. But going forward, I'm definitely gonna be just a little bit all over the place in some regards. But my main focus is like what are we gonna be going as a community, as a culture, as a society? How can we actively make active steps to make this better? I do see a lot of YouTube content that's just out there where it's just people just complaining about the problem. They're just saying, hey, look at this problem. Hey, look at this problem. And that's their whole stick. They just keep, hey, this is it. This is it. This is it. Well, in the end, they're actually taking no active steps to, address it or fix the problem. But that's what I want to do here. I actually went to my first school board meeting. Just wanted to go sit down and see what that was about. Very interesting. I even think some of the stuff that's embedded in our culture is like it's subconscious. People aren't even aware of what's going on to some degree. And I was able to see that at my school board meeting. Well, the next big thing that's going to be coming up, I do actually have an interview with one of the guys that I met with at the school board. It's no education no left turn for education. But if you've ever seen those guys at school board meetings that basically read the smut novels that are actually in the libraries of the school districts, that's gonna be this guy. So we're gonna have some pretty cool conversations. Be my first time doing this, so it's gonna be unique. Well, there's definitely gonna be some bumps in the road, but yeah, man. I think if you got any teachers, you got parents, with young kids, or even older kids, or grandparents, that have young kids too, like definitely send them this stuff, man. This is kind of what I want to work on. I definitely wanted to, I got so many things I want to work on, man. I'm pretty stoked about this, and just kind of want to make that little personal connection at the end here. So, with that, guys, I'll let you go. Appreciate it. Take care.